Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The campaign is Horror on the Orient Express. It's available from Chaosium. I am the Keeper of the Secrets, and this is episode 14. Our recap will be given by Morgan Llewellyn as his character, Montgomery Turner. So without any further delays, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Morgan?
My dear Smythe, I hope things are going well for you back in England. God save the king and whatnot. Now the obligatory greetings are out of the way, there's been a few troubling developments regarding this whole Blood Red Fez affair. We discovered that there was a young man on the train who has been victimized by a loutie. Our crude attempts at removal were of no avail. The damn thing kept stitching it back onto his scalp over and over again. And when we decided to confront Loutie himself, we were accosted by his bodyguard, seemingly summoned in some esoteric fashion through the fez he wore on his own head. Eyes rolled back, fists swinging. While the rest of the group dealt with that blighter, I kicked my way into Loutie's room and confronted him directly. He tried to escape out the window, but that was to no avail. His and his goons' fezes were removed, and they were taken into custody. We discovered a few documents on his person. One outlined a spell that prolongs the life of someone wearing one of these fezes for a price. Some of the fellows have been using it to keep the poor young man alive until we could discover a way to remove that fez, and they report seeing strange visions, some kind of dark tentacled monster in a empty void reaching out with one arm each per hat. Strange things, haven't seen it myself, but I'm inclined to trust them. There was also a poem that Loutie had from a woman identifying herself as the daughter of fate. We've learned that this is evidently some courtesan of the Ottoman court. They take such artistic names. And she apparently has some kind of relationship with Loutie and has been working with him. We met your Baron Leopold and his young daughter, who feared for his sanity. And she was, I am afraid to say, quite right in that assertion. The Baron tried to place one of the damned fezes on Dimitri's head while he was asleep. This direct method of experimentation was not conducive to a healthy environment, so his daughter has whisked him away to go meet with the esteemed Dr. Freud. And I think we're all better for it. I wish he would have been of more help, but alas, what can you do? But this brings me to the most terrible news of all. When we arrived at Constantinople, we've brought the young man with us to go find Demir and see about getting the hat removed, but Demir wasn't there to greet us at the station. Instead, it was his two of his children with a note, and apparently we have been discovered. We were directed to go meet with a friend of Demir's to change our garb to better match the locality. And when we finally were brought to his apartment, we were given the most dire news. Demir himself had been stabbed by these fiends, and his oldest son has been kidnapped. These cultists deem to kill the poor lad if we don't hand over the book and fez to him in exchange for his life. Demir does not believe that they have any intention of letting the boy live, regardless of what we do. It's the most terrible circumstances. I wish I had better news to report, but Demir is working on a translation of the book, The Whispering Fez, and we are going to try to find a way of saving his son. Yours truly, Montgomery Turner.
Excellent. So it's still fairly early in the day. Demir explains. He says the Persian in this book I will begin to translate immediately. The Aklo at the end, I can translate it, but it will take me a bit of time, a few hours at least. I'm going to try and skim through it and see if I can find any bits of it that are the most important and start working on those. I'm afraid, because such texts are usually fraught with danger and reveal rather nasty things. What do we do about this exchange? It's not until tomorrow night.
Handing over the books and the Fez are out of the question. I think that may go without saying. If there's any hope of saving your boy, I think it would be finding where they're holding him before this supposed meeting is to take place.
Exactly. And I was thinking, they are wanting a meeting at night, so it's a little easier to move around a kidnapped victim, but I'd imagine it's probably be close to one, either where their headquarters are, which I would imagine would be where this courtesan works, or near the drop-off point. That way they don't have to transport him very far.
He's talked about the docks at Qasim. That is not a very nice area. Some docks are bad, but that's an abandoned dock. I mean, I'm sure that the Turkish Navy is not too far away, but I don't think there's anything out there except maybe a few workers. So it's not likely that she's going to be in some place a little more glamorous. If she's a courtesan, then she's not going to be in a common brothel area. She may have left that all to herself. I honestly, I'm quite at a loss. Your Mr. Loudy, that fellow, seemed more like a bumbler than anything else. But if he was moving around within the occult circles, some people may have come across him. They might know a little bit more about who he was, where she is, maybe even where she is. There are two people I can think of that might, very, very slim chance, might assist in some way. One of them is a man that we only know him by the name the Frenchman. And he is an occultist of some renown, but he's somewhat of a shadowy figure, a bit probably dangerous, though nothing can be directly traced back to him. He has a mansion, I believe, in Istanbul.
In Istanbul?
Istanbul. Yes, it's part of the city. Probably a rather palatial place. But he's a man of perverse pleasures and a hedonist. He's not interested in amassing power over others. He's just interested in pleasing his own delectations.
Yeah,
he's an odd man.
But it just sounds French to me.
He very well may be just that. That may be why they call him. The other one, I don't know. I even fear saying it out loud. When our Professor Smythe was here last, there was a altercation. There is a man who is, we believe he's pretending what he's doing, but he is a man who has gathered a number of people. They're on the other side of the Bosphorus, on the Asian side of the city.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a small village, and he has a fortress above the city. They tout themselves as a kind of monastic order, but nobody really believes that. He's a man he's called Suleiman the Red.
Mm.
You may have heard. Professor Smythe mention him. It's why Professor Smythe is afraid to come back here, because the man has a kind of vendetta out on him. He's developed some sort of cult around him. They're called Jildkardi Lié. Jildkardesh Lié.
Does that translate to something?
It's Turkish. It's something along the lines of the Brotherhood of the Skin. They worship a being called Derisi Solan, the one who is without skin.
Huh.
He's a dangerous man, but once again, he might know something about if there are rivals in the city, he would know who they are, and if she or he is a rival, then he might know. In either case, it's I would be very cautious around that man, but I would with the Frenchman, I would simply be, he might not even see you. He might just not be interested. He's only going to talk to you if it amuses him.
Yes.
He probably would be easily succumb to flattery, and but he probably won't take any bullshit. He's too wealthy and too self-absorbed to be interested in that, but he might. Otherwise, I mean, there are places you could go. You could go to the Imperial Treasury, but none of you speak Persian, so you're not going to be able to do any research. There's the Imperial House of Antiquities, but once again, you're not really going to have anything. Mostly, I'm going to read this, but see what you can. You could go to the docks and see what you're dealing with before midnight tomorrow.
Do you suspect then that this Nisrat is acting in concert with some other occult fanatic here in town, that she's the lure for the...
I don't know. Usually those sorts of people don't get along very well. If you belong to their cult, you either belong to their cult or you don't. And if you don't, they don't like you, but they might know everything about you. So that might be a motivation.
And what is the normal, if there is such a thing, sort of progression if one is very successful as a consort in higher circles and leaves the industry? Is there a cultural position?
Not really.
You just take the money you've made and make a life for yourself in some way or other.
Yeah, you have position. I mean, most of them would never even dream of leaving because they have, food and luxurious clothing and place to live. If she's left, then either she's still part of that or she has left and she is confident that she has something more powerful or more better term, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyways, I will start working on translating this.
Excellent.
And you do not suspect the Frenchman or Suleiman the Red to be involved in this kidnapping, no?
No, I don't think that it would have anything to do with Suleiman, especially. They're somewhat recluse. They're more in the habit. I don't think they would have anything to do with this Blood Red Fez. that sort of business doesn't seem right. The Frenchman, I don't think so. I think that his occult studies are more esoteric, or he does it for his own pleasure. I don't think he's interested in evil hats that suck your brains out.
How rooted in with local authorities would the people who've kidnapped the son can we trust the authorities to go to them? I mean, we should get them involved. This is a serious crime just by itself. Outside,
I fear Sharpton that if we get the authorities involved, then they'll kill the son the second they start looking around.
Yes, I do believe that these people are ruthless. So I think there's only a chance that you might get my son back. And I realize that I am absolutely, completely torn up inside. But these people are evil. To kidnap a child, to stab me and kidnap my son at force.
I really want to get your child back. This is very important. I'm just concerned that we are not like a strike team that could be able to easily do this. Having maybe the authorities as an ace up our sleeve should things go sideways might be a good idea.
If you could figure out how they are coming to the dock area, whether it be land or sea, you might be able to ambush them. I don't know.
Yeah.
If we needed weapons, I mean, this is Istanbul. You can get anything here.
We have these great disguises that
I think we might pass at a glance for a visitor, but I don't think we're going to slip through the markets unnoticed.
Actually, I am thinking we should talk to Frenchman. May have more information that we could use. May even know how party is planning to get into dock, and more importantly, how they plan to get out of docks. I think we should have a visit paid to the Frenchman. I am happy to go. I have plan, I think, to loosen his tongue.
Oh, might it involve a clear ethanolic substance?
It does not. It involves color. I plan to paint his portrait and use that his own ego against him, and he shall, I believe, wanting to speak freely to me if I provide a valuable portrait. Who can turn down portrait from a Russian noble? No?
Certainly direction. The French and Russians have a certain mutual admiration. How large was the group that attacked you? And can you tell us anything about them or their appearance? Or
there were three of them. They waylaid me and my son while we were walking the streets coming home. The buildings are fairly close together in areas, and there was lots of places people could hide. And before I knew it, they leaped out and hit me over the head. So see the bump, and then I felt a sharp pain in my side, and I heard my son yell out, and it was all over with. Some people on the street managed to come out and pick me up and bring me back home. And then a few hours just before you arrived, they sent a message, the message that you've seen.
They were cowardly as well as evil.
Indeed.
Did any of them see them getting away? Was it just
no? It was
carriage?
nighttime.
All right. So there's no confirmation that it was just the three of them.
They were all men. They're all rather large men. Which means that she has followers. All right, I will go in. I am in a great deal of pain at the moment, but I'm going to try and start working on this Whispering Fez.
Dimitri, when you go to the Frenchman, do you want company? Someone like someone that could be your assistant?
Very much so. Charles, I think you'd be perfect.
Yes. That's what I was thinking too. Excellent. I was wanting to talk to him also.
Demir calls out from the other room. He says, "Don't go anywhere alone."
Oh, yes. I am not in favor of doing anything alone anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So, some of you are going to go see the Frenchman. Who is going to go?
I suppose we can split evenly and divide our time between the Frenchman and the Suleiman fellow.
Yes, I will go pay a visit to this monastic order.
The benefit to that group, it seems to me, is if they are not involved, they might be, in fact, quite adamantly counter this group as objectionable misbelievers or whatever. There's nothing one cult hates more than a cult with a different god.
Exactly. Exactly. I think I will also check out the cult rather than the Frenchman. I have a bit of a disdain for the French, so it's probably...
Oh, well, Sydney, it looks like we have an opening for you to go with the Frenchman.
My pleasure.
It might be.
So once you begin to make inquiries, you find out something before you leave. One is Istanbul is on the far part of the city. It'll take you half an hour to get there. The place where Suleiman is it's in Scutari, which is on the Asian side of the Bosporus. You are going to have to find a boat that will take you across the Bosporus to get to the other part of the city. There's no bridge yet.
There must be ferries.
So that's going to take you a couple of hours to do that. All right, so we'll do the Frenchman first.
Along the way, as we're traveling, we're going to stop in the market so I can pick up a canvas and an array of oil paints and brushes and other implements so that I'm fully prepared to set up an easel and paint his portrait.
Two questions as we head out. I assume that we will, since our trip across the river is going to take longer, we shouldn't dally. What is the quickest way to contact Garo Demir in an emergency, say from across the river? Is there any mechanism, whatever?
Flaming arrow.
Carrier pigeon.
Right. He doesn't happen to have a suite of pigeons handy for us to carry under our coats.
I'd say probably finding a message boy and getting the message boy to do it, but it's still going to take him hours. Okay. That's probably not, he'll probably just pocket your money and disappear.
Yes. Is there some kind of, should we visit a consulate and get guidebooks in English or the like, so that we don't just get lost in Constantinople within 10 minutes of leaving Garo's place?
That is a great idea.
That is a very good
consulate.
Yes, we could register at the consulate as well. So if we show up floating in the Bosporus in 12 hours, they'll at least be able to identify us quickly.
Yes.
The British consulate is opposite the Ottoman Bank, and it's open at 10 a.m., so it's open now. And
it sounds like nice big landmarks as well.
Yeah. All right. So are you all going to go to the consulate?
I don't know if how much they'll offer Dimitri in service, but at least a few of us should probably check in. Maybe at least one from both parties. Then we can have matching maps.
Oh, there we go. Sure. Yeah, I'll swing by.
Okay.
Do that while I'm shopping for art supplies.
Yeah, perfect.
I'll come with you to shop for art supplies. I can carry your easels for you.
Thank you.
Already in character.
All right. I'm done.
All right. We'll do the consulate first then. The British consulate has a number of employees up in the front. What they can do is they can give you papers that will make it look like you're basically on official business. Not for them, but you have business and you have the license to do business if you need to.
That's excellent. A little bit of official recognition should be stopped at random. Very good.
They also can mark your passports. I'm sure you have passports.
Yep.
All right. So, Dimitri, you've gotten whatever supplies you wanted. You've got a little carrying thing, your easel and stuff. So you travel across town. You come to an area of Istanbul that's very pretty. Lots of gardens, lots of larger houses, lots of mansions. And you don't know exactly where the man lives, but it's one of those things where you ask people, and eventually they start pointing and you end up there. This man's place is rather grand. There's gardens all around it. There's fountains. And you can see that there are a number of servants moving about. Eventually, you find where the front entrance would be to it, and you come up to the door and you knock. And a young gentleman dressed as a servant comes to the door, and he opens the door and he looks at you and he says, "Yes. What do you want?"
Yes, good sir. I am representative of the famous artist Dmitry Sokolov here. And we were inquiring if your master would like to have the honor of having his portrait painted by the famous artist, Russian artist Sokolov.
Do you have an appointment?
This man is full. This man is full and has no use for my time. The Frenchman has lost the opportunity to have his portrait done by such as I. Come, we go.
Oh,
and he closes the door.
Oh, the French.
He will realize his stupidity momentarily.
Maybe we could see if they'd want to make an appointment.
Yeah. I think it'll work better though if Dimitri, you're not there. That way, it looks like maybe I'm smoothing it over for you.
Yeah.
I will go to end of walkway behind those the shrubbery.
Yeah. Oh, I'll knock again.
The servant opens the door.
Same one?
Same one. And he says, you again.
Yes.
Please go away. And he closes the door in your face.
Oh, wow. Well, look at Sydney. I'm like, I don't think we're going to make much progress with that.
I don't think so. We could try bluffing, but now at this point, it seems
like get a word out.
Yeah, I don't know if the. It seems like the butler here is making an awful lot of decisions for the Frenchman. If the Frenchman might have had an experience with Dimitri before, how would he know? I'm curious as to what the actual relationship is there now.
There probably isn't one. It's just that the butler's under strict orders not to let strangers in. Come on, let's go. Let's not stand here on the doorstep looking like fools. Exactly. So walk out, and I filled Dimitri in. He opened the door, and I didn't even get a syllable out before he shut the door again in my face.
It's very, very disappointing. It is quite strange that a Frenchman would use butler as gateway for he knows as businessman. Opportunities show up in many different ways, and if butler is turning people away from door, Frenchman is surely losing money hand over fist. We will need find different way, I think, to get his attention. It is a shame he should use manservant such as this that costs him money.
Yeah.
Does it appear that the estate, this building, has like a carriage house, or does it look mostly like you just walk out and hail a carriage cab, a taxi of sorts?
The style of this place is such where there is not really easy access to the property itself. There's a door and a wall. You can see over the wall that there are gardens and fountains and things like that. If there is a car, well, there's no cars yet. If there's a carriage or anything like that, it's going to be somewhere in the back of the property, and it's going to be out of view, where nobody has to look at it.
I was thinking maybe if we could stake this out a little bit, see maybe if we could actually have a direct audience with him briefly, if he's on his way out.
Yeah. Now, is this one of those houses that is quite a ways to the nearest neighbor because he owns so much land around it?
No, Constantinople's pretty packed. So, but there's maybe 300. Well, that's too much. Maybe 100 feet between his place, the wall, and then 100 feet to the next property.
So you'd have to yell at the top of your lungs to barely be able to hear it over there.
So there's garden grounds, greenery and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we set up? All right. Let me try that.
Now the wall's about this high, so
right.
But I mean, if you're setting up right next to the wall, then you're invisible. But if you set up a ways away, then you have, you can be seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you can see the second floor of his.
Exactly, right? The clear line of sight to the second floor.
Excellent.
So, we set up easel in field nearby. And Sydney, you stand for a portrait, and I paint you, and we set up scene, and lure mouse into trap.
Excellent. So I will dutifully set up the easel as directed, and then pose magnificently.
You be very regal, very nice. Oh, very good.
Wonderful.
All right, so you guys are going to do that for a while. Montgomery, James, and Bernard, you have to travel across town. You have to secure a boat. The boats are called something, and I can't remember what it is. It's got a Turkish name, but they're like water taxis. And it's not very fast, so it takes a while to cross the Bosphorus, and you end up on the other side, and then you find that this side of the city is much greener. There's a lot of greenery. There's a lot of plants. There's trees. The style of building changes a little bit. It seems a little more old, a little more Asian, and it's also kind of oddly shaped. There's a wall, and the wall goes all the way around the city. But the city, when you're in it, there's buildings and things, in lines, and then there's areas where there's just greenery and shrubbery and stuff like that. And then there might be something like a village, and you're told that Scuti is it's kind of a small village within the city walls. And as you get there, you see, it's kind of run down. It's the people are not as wealthy as they might look otherwise. They're in more drab clothing. There's a lot more farm animals and things just as part of the landscape with goats and stuff. And there's a hillock that's, maybe 200 feet high at one end, that you can see there is this big, imposing black fortress on top of it that does have that sort of medieval monastery sort of look to it. But no easy way. Once you're there, you have to kind of wander around a bit, even to figure out, is there a road going up to it or anything like that. Eventually, you find such a thing. And at the bottom of the road going up, there are two gentlemen. They are dressed in black robes, and they have turbans on their heads. And they inquire of you, who are you? What do you want?
We're travelers from England, and we're looking to speak with Suleiman the Red.
When they look at each other and they say stuff in sounds like Turkish.
Presumably,
why?
in fact, some assistant to the chief, Suleiman.
What business do you have with him?
We've come across, let's just say perhaps someone who the Suleiman may know, and we would like to receive some wisdom and advice about how to proceed.
Wait here. And it's actually quite a ways up the road, but the one guy starts running up the road. Probably have about 15 or 20 minutes before the guy comes back. It'll take him that long to get up there and then come back. Jump back to the others. So you've been painting there for 45 minutes. Nothing. You haven't even seen anybody look in your direction. You haven't seen anybody.
Right. What about the other residents of the neighborhood?
Some people see you. Some people walk by and they look at what you're painting and move on. Mm-hmm. It's not the first time they've seen a vendor in the street doing something.
Right. I'm not sure this is.
We'll say that one of them stops and looks at your painting. He says, that's pretty well done. You were you professionally trained?
Yes, of course. Is it obvious not?
Do you know whose house that is that you've got in the background there?
All we've heard, someone told us as they went by, is the Frenchman is what they called him.
Yeah. Be careful.
Oh, he doesn't like his house being represented, or is he himself?
What he likes and what he doesn't like is all inside of his head, and he's a dangerous man. You don't want to piss him off.
Oh, well, yes, that was definitely not our goal to upset the populace here. We're just trying to get a painting done of this beautiful man here. Hey, kind of point at Sydney.
And he looks around like this, and he leans into you, and he goes, "He's a wizard." And then he walks away quickly.
The wizard. Superstition. Oh wow.
Yeah.
After what I've seen, I don't know.
He made a stranger disappear. Very good wizard.
What if he throws late night parties or something? But
what time is it roughly?
We'll say for you, it's about noon.
Oh, about noon. Okay.
You started this morning at about 10, so it has not much time has passed for you.
probably still asleep.
So we're going to say you've been there, what, about 45 minutes. As you are standing there pretending to do what you're doing, everybody, well, let's see, Dimitri, you do a spot hidden.
Oh, wow. Extreme success.
Okay.
Ought to.
Nice.
So as you are standing there, you see over the canvas, you see the front door of the place open, and you see that butler sort of step out, and he looks around like this. And then he sees you, and he motions for you to come forward, to come back where he is.
See, my friends, invitations being made for us. Come, we go.
And that was a good painting, Dimitri. Excellent work.
It's very nice. Is it very nice?
Yeah.
You are far too kind.
To your
Please,
arts and
more.
Yeah, exactly. Go walking up that way.
All right. So you get over to the door, and the butler is standing there, and he says, "My master would like to know what you're really here for."
We were wondering about certain concubines in the city. I would have to see what her name was again.
He turns around and steps inside and holds the door open and motions for you to come in.
Okay. I will step in.
I mean, all three of you.
Yeah.
I will step in too.
And
As
then,
will Dimitri.
without really looking directly at you, he points downwards towards a little corner, kind of right there. And he says, "Leave all that stuff there."
Okay.
And then he says, "And follow me." So the inside of this place is quite lavish. The man likes his beautiful marble. Everything is decorated. Everything is carved. The walls have gold inlays in them and patterns. And it's a cross between Byzantine and that sort of arabesque stuff with little bits of mother of pearl and everything. And he takes you to a staircase and leads you up. You go along a hallway, and it opens up into a veranda, which overlooks the garden. And it's just out of the direct sunlight. The building itself sort of blocks the veranda. And you see on a divan, sort of lounging there, looking out towards the garden, is this gentleman. He's dressed all in colorful silk robes. very expensive looking things. He has a bit of a little turban on his head, almost more like a smoking hat.
Mhm.
He has next to him a hookah, which he is smoking on. The smoke is fluttering up. And by this time, you've noticed that there are all sorts of exotic smells in the air. Smells like perfumes and spices and some things you can't quite put your finger on, but all of it very lovely. You can see there are peacocks in the garden walking about. And there's a sort of a mosaic top table nearby with chairs, but it's just blank. And this gentleman isn't really facing in your direction. He's looking out towards the garden, and the servant motions for you to stop, and he walks over and leans over and he whispers something in the man's ear. And the man sort of looks back at you, and he says, sort of like that. And he motions for you to come forward as he turns around. The man looks like he's maybe in his mid-30s. He has a little black mustache, and he doesn't look Arab in any way. He looks the Frenchman. He's probably French.
Okay.
And he's like, "So, what is this that you have come to my house to ask me?"
We are looking for a daughter of fate, known as Nisra Ibnat al-Masir, and your name was recommended as someone to inquire about this woman.
Now, what on earth would you want her for?
We believe that she has taken a child that is a friend who is the child of a friend of ours.
I'm sorry. Who are
Ah, Charles Mockford of Esquire of Britain.
I don't care what your name is. I mean, who are you? Where have you come from? Why are you here? Why has my accent turned to English instead of French?
We have journeyed far and been pulled into strange mysteries with blood red fezes, and we are looking to save a child. We do not come trying to beg and plead for information. I come legit to trade what could be a very valuable, one-of-a-kind portrait. Trade portrait for information.
That's what my servant said. I'm not interested in your little finger paints. So, Nisra, the daughter of fate, as she calls herself, she was a pupil of mine. Do you believe in magic?
Yes, I on my journey here, I saw undeniable magic.
So you have some experience in witnessing the unusual. Well, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people have delusions and see things that they believe they have seen. But there is a manner in which the universe can be manipulated, you see, and it takes a great deal of time and study. Nisra was an interesting woman. She had a kind of psychological captivation. She's a very beautiful woman. And she proved to be quite a poor student, though. She was not interested in taking time to learn. She's been hanging around. I believe she was a bit seduced by some fellow
A Loudy?
Lottie, yes.
Lottie.
You've heard of him as well.
We've met him.
Have you? And your impression?
He gives the impression that he is competent in magic, but we found that he was easily overpowered.
Yes, I'm sure that Nisra is by far his superior. Most likely she's just using him. She uses everyone, you see. She wants power. I myself am not interested in power. I'm interested in magic. And I told her that in order to understand magic, you have to study for years and years, many years. She didn't want that. She wanted some fast way to power, but she doesn't realize there is no fast way to power. So I dismissed her. Off she went. I don't know precisely where she is, but I heard a rumor lately that she has set up a residence somewhere in the Kizi Adalar, the Prince's Islands, which are south of Constantinople. There are officially 9, but my guess is that she's on the 10th, which, you see, the Byzantines and the Ottomans would often exile people out to the islands, and of course now they would deny that they ever do this, but they still do it. It's most likely she's out there with some prince that she's trying to seduce or use. That's my guess.
So she would get set up there to try and accumulate power by manipulating some other person that can move her up the rungs, you say?
So I'm curious what she and Lauti have been up to. Why are you interested?
Well, as we mentioned, we saw some type of magic on our journey here, and as my friend mentioned, a Blood Red Fez. What we saw was they were able to put the fez on a unfortunate victim's head, and it melded itself onto him and began draining him of his life force.
So she's found some sort of artifact. Yes, it's typical of what she's probably not even interested in trying to study it and find out what its properties truly are. That's what I would expect. Well, I mean, I don't know what I could help you with, but your story is a bit interesting. Have you eaten
lunch? No.
Allow me. And he stands up. He's actually a bit rotund, a bit back. He walks over to this table and he reaches into his robes and he pulls out a rope. The rope is about, I'd say if you opened it up, it would be about 4 feet across. It's red and white striped. And he holds it in his hand for a moment and he says, "Do you know what this is?"
I do not.
It's string.
He says, "This is a rope that was fashioned according to the magic of Abramelin the Wise." He says, "Let me demonstrate." And he sort of opens it out onto the table like you would a table. So it makes a circle, goes around the table.
Yeah.
And he says, "True magic is like this." And he grabs a hold of the string and he lifts it off the table. And when he does, there's food and drink and everything else there.
Oh,
Kind of
goodness.
like a magic trick. And he takes that and puts it back in his pocket. He says, please, there's fruit, there's water, there's wine.
Oh.
I've learned a great deal of magic over the years, studying. Not everything is in books. Some requires practice, some risks involved, some danger, some I've traveled about. My family is originally from Europe, which is why they call me the Frenchman, though it's not exactly accurate. We've all been sort of collectors of magic and studiers of magic. I studied under a number of people. Most recently, it would be Suleiman the Red. They call him Suleiman the Red. He has a fortress. I was not interested in his nonsense. He makes it into a kind of religious thing. I'm not interested in his.
Would there
religion.
be ways to counter this daughter of fate's magic? Something to subdue or
I have no idea
dampen?
what she's learned. There's always counters, but not knowing. I haven't had any contact with her in quite a while.
No tool or device that we could borrow or purchase.
So now you're looking for a shortcut of some sort. I'm afraid there aren't any.
Not shortcut per se, but something to help so we're not so on short end of stick.
I have no reason. I could teach you, but it would take 10 years.
Maybe instead, not so much a shortcut, but might you, if we could bring something that belonged to the boy that's missing, is there some magic that could try to locate him at all?
I'm not a genie. If you're going to look for him, he would be where she is. And if she's on the island, that's where she would be. I believe the prince in question was, I've been invited to the court a number of times. Ramazan, Prince Ramazan. He's a distant cousin of the Sultan, but he's considered by the court to be a profligate, a sinner, a drug addict. And I believe he has syphilis.
Awful disease. Very
In
good
any
wine.
case, enjoy your refreshments.
Thank you. They're quite delicious.
Yes, if one's going to study magic, one might as well take the benefits of it. I don't understand why anybody would want to rule over others unless, they were absolute slaves, doing whatever you wanted for your pleasure.
Yes.
But I have servants. And as you can see, I don't need servants. The study of magic is a very interesting thing. I'm surprised and disappointed that Nisra didn't continue with me.
Just her wanting the shortcut is why she left. You didn't have a falling out.
That's our falling out. I mean, I don't know where else she was going to go, and she's looking for instant power. There's nobody else that's going to teach her. Certainly not Lovecraft. He despises. He thinks that women are completely inferior.
Yes. Many men have made that underestimation.
Anyways, we'll say that you have a little bit more conversation with him. The food's pretty damn good. And then when he gets bored of you, it's time for you to go.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
He sends you on his way.
Thank you for time.
Do you, what do you do after you leave his place?
What time is it?
We'll say it's about 3 o'clock at this point.
That may be time enough to go and check out the docks before heading back.
That's perfect time.
Kind of, and you said at the consulate they gave us kind of like a little map of the area.
Yeah.
Kind of look on there, see where the nine Princes Islands, kind of where they are in relation to the city.
They actually gave you more than that. It's almost a travel guide. So,
Okay.
There's 2 stories about the Princess Islands. They're directly south of Constantinople, in the Marmara Sea. There are 3 rather large ones that do have very small populations on them. The other ones are either uninhabited or abandoned. They weren't exactly prisons, but they were definitely a place where the Byzantines and the Ottomans exiled people to. Once you're there, you can't get off if you don't have a boat.
Okay.
But officially, the Ottomans now deny that they ever did anything so cruel to people. But history says otherwise. But they only say there's 9. There are only 9.
Okay.
So the 10th one must be farthest out, or the secret one that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
The forbidden one.
The Elba of the Ottoman.
Right.
Okay.
All right. The other 3. Eventually the man comes back and he says, Suleiman is present and he will see you. So they bring you up, but before you get to the gates, you have to remove any kind of weapons that you might have. And if you don't have any, that's nothing.
Considered picking up a pistol at the market when he went for the paints, but I suspect it was better to put that off.
There is inside the walls, it's kind of almost what you'd expect from a monastery, like an old medieval monastery. In fact, it might have been at one point that, but there is some odd smells. Meaty sort of smells in the air, which are not entirely unpleasant, but not pleasant either. You can tell there seem to be 2 different kinds of monastic. There are people who are obviously guards, like the guys down there, and there are a few of them in here too. 2 of them posted near the door, 2 of them farther in, 2 of them in the rooms. But you are eventually taken to a room that is, it's got a long table in it. The walls are carved stone, just sort of, what do I want to say, geometric sort of carvings to the walls. And there's a gentleman at the other end. He looks like he's maybe 40 years old. And he is surrounded. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 people also in these dark clothes around him. You can see that they have, they're not called scimitars. They've got their own name, but it's the knife that comes out and then it curves a little, So they're the length of swords, but they're big knives. They all have these strapped to their sides. And the gentleman says, "Yes, who are you and why have you come to me? I am Suleiman the Red."
We are gentlemen interested in the occult, and we've encountered some troubling things happening in our part of the world, and we've followed those responsible to here. And we thought that somebody in your position and your knowledge would be interested in knowing about such factions operating in your locality.
Let's find someplace a bit more comfortable. And he sort of he turns around and steps through a doorway. And the guards have kind of moved around so that you guys feel obligated to follow. He takes you into a room that has a low table and cushions on the floor all the way around. There are a number of other people in here who don't look like guards. They look more like I say, the ones that look more like the monks. There are a number of old men. There are a number of men around his age. And there is at least one child. Looks like he's maybe 10 or 12. And when you walked in, he was busy copying something. And he immediately sits up and he stares at you as you come into the room. And Suleiman takes the lead seat and he sits down. Please sit down. Do you want refreshments?
Forgive our ignorance as foreigners only recently arrived. Is there a proper form by which you should be addressed?
You may just call me Suleiman.
Thank you very
My
much. Suleiman.
surname is Malficat, but people call me the Red. It's the title, but just call me Suleiman.
If you are having something, we would be honored to share it with you. If you are not, we are without need.
And he looks up at one of the guards, and the guard immediately goes and eventually brings back in coffee or something like that. Coffee and sweets.
Thank you.
Now, you said something about a rival. What are you going to tell me?
There's a woman named Nisra, refers to herself as the daughter of fate. She has been working with
prostitutes. A prostitute's no rival to me.
She's been working with a man by the name of Louty, and they have identified an artifact of significant magical potential that sucks the life force out of others and has the potential to control them.
Most unnatural artifact of some ancient age and originating, we believe, in this area. We first encountered it, however, in London, where this artifact transformed a young man unknowingly into an inhuman beast before our eyes.
And you want to find this woman and join with her in an alliance and learn her magic?
On the contrary, we want to remove this pestilence from our plane of existence.
The pestilence, it certainly is, if a woman is involved. I do believe I know who you're talking about. And I know this Louty fellow. A blithering idiot.
Yes, he's incarcerated in Europe now.
Well, that's not surprising. It'd be difficult to incarcerate a true believer, and he certainly is not. I can tell you this. I believe that she would be on an island out in the Marmara Sea, one of the Prince's Islands, but it's not one that you'll be able to find unless you go out there and look for it. It's considered by the locals to be forbidden. People go missing out in that area. You'll have to give your boat captain a hefty bribe if you're going to get out there. Her cult is not very large. I would say 20 people. On an aside, you figure that Suleiman here has about 50 people from what you've seen walking around. She's a whore. So exterminating her, if that's in fact what you intend to do, I approve 100%. I won't stand in your way.
We're grateful for this information. This Forbidden Island, does it have a? How would we tell a boatman what to look for?
Well, tell him the 10th island. I believe that it's called. What is it called? It's called Markum Prensler Adasi, the island of doomed princes.
Sounds like a charming spot.
That sounds like a charming spot.
I think also that she has a particular servant, a eunuch, a black eunuch, big man that's fiercely loyal to her. You might have trouble, and he looks around at you guys, and he's like, you might have some trouble with him.
I'm sure it won't be too much trouble, my dear friend.
I would like you all to do psychology rolls.
How's the coffee?
It's Turkish coffee. It's strong, muddy. Any passes?
Not here. 89.
18.
79.
Actually, I said all of you. Obviously, only the ones that are here. So none of you?
18.
Oh, 18.
Yeah.
So, James, you've been kind of in the background observing, and there's two things that make the hair on the back of your neck start to stand up. One of them is that Suleiman is looking at all of you. When he speaks, he's got a smile on a smile on his face. Like he's imagining doing things to you. You definitely get that predatory sort of look from him. The other thing that you notice that also is kind of odd, although there are other adults in here that seem to share sort of leadership in this cult with him, and they seem somewhat attentive, the boy is watching you guys with eagle vision, like he's memorizing exactly what you look like, and he's hanging on every word that you say, like a fierce little student of the occult. And it, like I say, it raises the hair on the back of your neck. So when your conversation is over, you're pretty happy to get up and go.
Yeah.
Not knowing whether you're going to actually make it out of the building or not.
When, if we get not even a moment, maybe very, very quiet whispers, I will.
Yeah, there's no way. Any kind of whispering will be right in front of them.
I will hold it all to myself.
So, as I said, I won't get in your way, whatever you do. Is there anything else?
I don't think so, unless you two have any.
No, just our great appreciation for.
Yes, we're grateful for the knowledge that you've imparted and the warning regarding the eunuch servant. Other than her gender, do you know of any weakness that we might exploit in this Nistra?
No, but you must guard your own weaknesses. She is a woman. She has her womanly wiles. She wasn't a courtesan for nothing. But I hardly doubt that she has any magic of any kind.
Just this artifact. May I inquire, as impressive as your collective here is, if there's a particular teaching that you follow? I'm a student of faith as well as mysteries.
Ah, well. We follow Deresi Solan, the skinless one. But perhaps that's a bit advanced for you to understand. When this business is done, come back and I will initiate you into the more advanced understanding. And he's got that smile on his face, like
That sounds wonderful. Bernard Montgomery, I think it really is time, but we should be going. Thank you for your hospitality. And I also like do a little bow towards the younger child as well. Yes, thank you. You've been welcome, host.
Off you go.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Going to do anything else before you return back to the other side? It'll take you another hour and a half.
I will speak to the two gentlemen as we have left. Gentlemen, did either of you ever get that strange feeling that that man wanted to? He mentioned when he mentioned a skinless god, I almost got that feeling that he was maybe wanting our own skin, if you get my drift.
Well, he certainly had a shark-like smile on his some of the time. I also am always suspicious of men who are afraid of women to that degree.
Yes, and
just a fundamental flaw in their character.
I feel for that kid. He was more attentive than the rest, and he seemed more eager. And I fear that the youth should be able to be given a choice, and maybe that kid was not given much choice and has been grown up in this form and is now maybe grow up to take over from this man.
Well, I mean, there's not much we could do for the young lad, but maybe you'll see him again in 20 years.
Maybe. But yes, I think we should watch our backs, because I don't think he would have let us leave willingly, so there might be more
I suspect that it's good that we came on a mission that involved a woman, because it inspired his encouragement, let's say.
Yes, but at the end of the day...
It may be that misogyny has saved us all our skin.
Yes.
This fine afternoon.
Possibly, but I also think it's getting rid of a bit of competition. So either way, even if he wasn't bothered by the fact she was a woman, he might have been forthcoming anyway.
Outside of this whole terribleness with dealing with such terrible people, did either of you know that Dimitri was a painter?
Not a clue.
I think that much like Southern American women, minor Russian aristocrats are expected to know all sorts of skills to entertain and amuse others.
Yes, but he seems to be a master of many skills. Just like with the French, I have a hard time trusting the Russians. So.
Well, I'm certainly glad we didn't lose the poor fellow to have read a hat, thanks to that mad German.
Yes, his bill.
Yeah. Baron Leopold. Quite an interesting approach to the study of the esoteric.
Yeah.
Given that, how difficult was it to find a ferryman who took us across the river? There's constant traffic because there's no bridge.
Yeah, not that difficult.
How was our experience with him? It would be nice to find someone, a ship captain for later, that we had faith in.
Well, I mean,
and since we're at these docks,
they're small water taxis. Whether he spoke English or not, he kind of knew what you wanted. You want to go across. The money there is lira, so in the Persian, in the Ottoman Empire, so you kind of know how much he's going to charge you, and you didn't really have to communicate with him. Otherwise, he just took you across. Probably does it 100 times a day.
So before we leave the riverfront, let's go back to see meet the others at Garrow's place. Let's find an English-speaking boat person and see if we can get a lead on a small watercraft for perhaps tonight, or perhaps we should attack them during the day tomorrow. At any rate, it would be nice to get a line on some kind of boat that can carry us all, and not maybe ask too many questions.
Yes,
or we could maybe Garrow Demir knows somebody on the waterfront that can advise us.
Possibly, but we don't necessarily have to go. And we could use the boat to scout tomorrow, maybe. Not necessarily go to the island itself, just to see how big this small island is and that chat.
Well, if we go during the day, they'll be able to see us. I mean, if they're out in the middle of the ocean and there's nothing to do.
Yes, but
I
going
don't
at
know
night.
that Marmarisi myself.
I don't know. Maybe that's something to discuss with the others. I hope they had to look with that Frenchman.
From the map, the nearest island is about 12 miles south, out in the Marmara Sea. So it's actually in the sea, so it's going to need a bigger boat than a taxi.
Right. Yeah, I was just since the water taxi is among them because there'll be some tourism, it being a cosmopolitan city. If we could find somebody who dealt with tourists and spoke English, we could ask about our rentals of boats for the next couple of days and get a line on somebody.
Right. So you travel back. You're heading back to Demir's. The other three, you guys have decided to check out the docks, the Kashim docks.
Yep.
And you can see in the same little travel guide that it says this is a filthy area, and you can see it's run down. It's the kind of place where crimes take place. You want to bring somebody out here and murder them, nobody's going to notice. Although Constantinople is busy, so although this dock is quiet, you can see within visual range there's docks there that there are people working, and you can see that like the entire Turkish fleet is parked over here. There's a vista that you're looking at. If it was too noisy over here, you'd probably get the Navy noticing.
Yeah.
Which could be to your advantage. Now, the other thing is there are a million places to hide. There are warehouse buildings. There are, scaffoldings. There are all sorts of things going on in this place. Primitive cranes. You're guessing that if they're coming from an island, they will be coming on a boat. The dock is right there. Mm-hmm. That's most likely where they're going to be coming from. All sorts of places that you could take advantage. Of course, they might do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Are most of the buildings look to be in use, or is there a lot of abandoned stuff?
It's almost all abandoned in this area.
All abandoned. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, this is really
That's why they chose it.
Yeah.
And at midnight, it's going to be pretty unlit. There'll be a few lights.
dark, abandoned. Yeah. So they may have a setup here already. It really depends how big they are. Like if they're a big organization, they might have a setup here, but if they're a smaller one, they might not.
Yeah.
You don't see any evidence of anything already being set up. So
yeah, I think
a couple people hanging out like on a third story of a warehouse.
Yeah,
if you were going, well, there are only 2 stories, any of them, but
Okay.
you can. They're not necessarily 2 stories. They're that high, that kind of warehouse. But you're thinking that if they came in smaller boats, they could go at different ends of the docks and come around and ambush you guys from the back. But Demir says he doesn't think they're going to give up the kid. They just want the stuff.
Yeah.
What is the water to land area look like? Is the dock area like built up and there's an artificial wall that goes into the water and the dock stretches out from that so that there's only water underneath, or is it a land with the dock kind of bridging over the land and then stretching out into water so that people could be under the dock?
From where it is, you're actually these particular docks. What's directly in front of you is the Golden Horn, the sort of river that flows down into the Sea of Marmara. It's very wide. The docks are, for all intents and purposes, cement, so they stick out into the water and boats can come up to them and park, but you think they're pretty much solid underneath. They're not wooden posts. They're ancient, but they had cement 1,000 years ago.
So the underside of these docks,
there's
scaffolding
no
that goes into water.
Or it's just cement coming up out of the thing. That's the dock. Like a pier, or a pier is not a good example. Like probably a technical term for it.
It's almost like it's a solid column.
It's like a solid thing going out.
Okay, so it's not like
there's probably bits and pieces of it here and there that have wood, but for the most part.
Okay, so there's no underside. It's all solid.
Right.
Okay.
But from where you're going with that, I'm telling you, there's still a million places you could hide, or they could hide.
Okay.
So it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we wanted to have a presence here, it's so big and vast, we'd have no idea where to set a couple of us up.
Yeah.
To try to rescue the rest of us if things go bad.
Well, I mean, we could still set it up, have like a carriage or something. We've got what they want also, right? We've got their hat and their book. And if we could show up early enough, we could set up and be like, hey, we're over here to meet you. And we pick, they've picked the docks, but they didn't say where at the docks. We could set it up here, and they get off. They go, no, you come to us for the exchange, not we go to you and walk into their area. So
do we want to try to use fakes, decoys for?
Well, the one thing that you do know from at least the way the text is written, you don't think they know that you have 4.
Yeah. They just think there's one, and they want the book. And I think decoys. I mean, like they're not giving us the kid back, so why should we give them the book, right?
Oh, exactly. Well, if they don't have the kid, there's no deal.
let's assume, well, you can also, I'll just give you one thing. You can also assume that they're not going to be easily fooled, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
They're not just going to take it and give you the kid and go. They're going to examine to make sure that it's what they're looking for. But let's say you're discussing this. Now you've got the layout in your head. You made little sketches or whatever, and you're headed back to Demir's as well.
Yeah.
So you all arrive, we'll just say magically around the same time.
Hey guys.
How was your visit with the Frenchman?
Oh, it's filling. He had wonderful wine and incense, and he knew of the lady.
No appreciation of art.
Yeah, he didn't like art. Yeah,
But a good lead.
yeah. Are you familiar with the Prince's Islands? Apparently, there's 9 of them.
Well, there's a 10th one.
That's what we had heard also.
The
Yeah.
Island of Doomed Princes.
Yes, the Markum Princim Hadas.
And apparently it will take quite a bribe or a steep sum to convince a boat captain to take us there.
A doomed and miserable place. So, we get the main stuff out, and then we learn that the Frenchman is weird, and that surprisingly, the skinless monks are even worse than weird.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we should plan at all to go to this dock. Decoy, no decoy. There's no reason for us to go if we go get the kid off that island.
But I was thinking,
what purpose is there of even showing up?
Well, how quick could we get to the island, though? Because they're coming to the docks, tonight?
Tomorrow.
It's midnight tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Oh, okay.
So we could go out there tonight.
This might be the way to do it then.
I think that they or she are acting under the confidence that we are newly arrived and ignorant of their ways, and that although they'll certainly have lookouts, there'll be an element of surprise that we can take advantage of. And for that matter, if we don't bring the book or a fez, then even if we fail to retrieve the boy from their island, they'll still be dependent upon us to retrieve the things they need for their little cult.
It's true.
If we just buy as many guns at the market as we can, rent perhaps 2 small vessels to go out and find the island.
So as you're coming back in, and as you come into Demir's place, his wife comes out quickly to you and she says, "Oh, please, he's something is very wrong." And she takes you in, and he's finishing up. He's been translating stuff, and he sees you and he says, my God." He says, it's horrible. I have translated the Persian, the important parts of it. So much of it is just nonsense and story, but some of it is very important. I started on the Aklo, and there is something dreadful.
Well, what is it, man?
What is it, man?
I need to continue to translate to understand it, but here, let me give you this. And he hands you what he's translated from the Persian part.
On becoming a true master of the Fez, you must give yourself up to the Blood Red Fez before it rewards you. Only by wearing the Fez, by risking that your will is weak and you are unworthy and will thus be consumed by the Fez, can you emerge tested and triumphant and able to channel its grand and terrible powers. The creation of subsequent Fezes. Once one has mastered the Fez, it is possible to spawn more which are alike in power to the first. This requires of the initial wearer a sacrifice of some small part of the soul, either his own or another's. In this way, each day another Fez can be brought forth into existence. With each wearer, the master can achieve power greater than can be believed.
My God.
Challengers to the master. Beware, others who gain a Fez may try and assert themselves as masters. Heed my advice and keep a small group of acolytes in Fezes that one may expend when the challenge comes. Like that giant of a man. The control of the damned. Left uncontrolled, the Fez will destroy the wearer. Once that happens, the thing that the Fez wearer becomes may be controlled by other more powerful masters of the Fez. They will be as mindless thralls bent only to the master's desires. The gate and the key. Blood Red Fez is the gate and the key. If the blood of a member of the royal line of Suleiman Yavuz is used, the Fez may call forth that which waits outside.
Oh my God! She has that prince out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
This needs to be stopped. This is
It does.
horrendous.
We must not hesitate.
The
I just
madman, the Red, thinks she might have 20 acolytes. So
Yes.
that's the power of 20 Fezes
If
I
they
think
have any.
she can use.
that's what
I-
I am worried about.
If
I
she
think my
had
friends,
that many, she would not need another.
I think my friends, that's it. The Aklo are the spells that grant these powers. That's why they need the book.
Okay.
I mean, she
Um,
could, if she got a hold of the book and learned the secrets and knew how to do it, and could make more of them, she could take over the world eventually,
Yeah.
enslave the entire world.
Yes, good. But we can't allow that to happen. I am also now worried, Montgomery and Bernard, that we told Suleiman about this, and what if he now tries to get involved and take this book? We need to, I feel like, protect it.
Indeed, he was quite specific in saying only that he would not interfere with us destroying her. He didn't say anything about murdering us and taking
Because
possession of these things.
Did we mention that I don't think we mentioned to him that we had any of this stuff. Or that we were trying to stop her and her plan.
We
Yes.
knew of I think I said that we feared she had acquired an artifact. I don't think we said anything about, we certainly didn't mention the book. That is a blessing.
You only said artifact. I do think that those of you who talked to the Frenchman mentioned the Fez.
we did.
He
Yeah.
shrugged it off. It's nonsense.
Yes. We just
Hmm.
we need to be cautious because she's just one part in this place, and we've met Suleiman, they've met the Frenchman. We can't trust anyone really, not here, out here. It might as well be a war zone, but we just need to keep in mind.
Well, you said he wouldn't interfere. He also said he wouldn't help. If that makes sense. He doesn't really perceive her as
Yes, but he
that much of a threat. I think he thinks we're kind of cute in a sense that we're so threatened.
Well,
I think
depending
that-
on what myths he's heard, though, if he understands the power that this thing portends and he's as mad as he seems, then he might want to get a hold of it
well,
rather
Suleiman-
than let us destroy it, for
Well, he's
example.
called Suleiman the Red, so I guess. But the keyword there, he said he wouldn't get involved. Doesn't mean that he won't get his men to get.
Well, is he a fairy? Are we trying to pick his language apart as far as he promised he wouldn't? There's nothing we can do. We can't control him, and we can't really take him at his word. I think speed is of the essence.
You
The
should
sooner we
avoid.
can get this done,
You
the sooner we can
avoid-
leave.
Avoid Suleiman the much as possible. He's
Well, Garo, your
Very
advice on
dangerous.
seeking those two was quite useful. We did learn a great deal, we believe.
Once you
We should. If, I would like to be as well armed as possible in this confrontation, and I believe that a bunch of bumbling Western Europeans will not be treated well in the markets. We would also like to acquire a boat or two. You need rest, clearly. Is there a trusted friend of yours that can take us to a market and purchase us some quality firearms or advise us about a boatman we could trust to take us into the sea?
Nine-Fingered Abdullah. He is a fisherman, I know. Very good man. Loyal friend. He has a light trawler. He fishes in the Sea of Marmara.
He might
I'm
even
sure
know
if
the
we
place
ask
without.
him.
Wonderful. Perhaps
Yes.
we can send word to him that his help might be required, and it's of vital import.
Yes, I will do that, definitely. I am very tired, very disturbed by what I've read. I want to rest, but I think that it's important that I make an attempt to translate this. If I could have someone's assistance learning, they could write it down for me.
Oh, I could assist with that.
I also think it's important that you have at least one armed bodyguard. They know where to attack you, and this book must not fall into their hands.
There's another man. Gundam's a friend, and he says to his wife, send a message to Gundams, tell him to come. We need his assistance. He will be able to help you find guns, whatever you need. What are your plans then?
No, I think the plan is to go to this island of the Doomed Princes at night and assault it. It can't be that big. And retrieve your
Tonight,
child.
we go tonight.
No, it would be a small island, but I think you should let me finish translating this before you go, so that you know what you're in for.
Against, yeah. How close do you think you are to completing that translation?
It's not that. It's the contents are mind-numbingly evil and dangerous.
We don't want you to overtask yourself, and
But we have no time left. So if you refresh yourselves. My wife will cook something, and Charles will assist me.
Yes.
Would two assistants be more useful than one, or is
I
it?
just need someone to write down what I say.
Very well. We'll try to make preparations with your friends while you do that work. But take care of yourself, please. We want to bring your son back to you when you are also intact.
All right. So over the course of the next couple of hours, in fact, we'll say it's probably going to take more like 4 hours. So we're getting, let's say, 9 o'clock at night is, and for Charles, I would like you to do a sanity roll.
Ooh. Fail.
All right. 1d4.
4.
Okay. That actually makes sense. So as this goes on, he's translating, and you can see that as he translates, it's almost like he's being, hit. He's tired, but at the same time, the revelations of what he's reading are so horrible that it's mentally damaging him as well. It's mentally damaging you because he's translating and you're writing it down. So you take 4 points of damage. But around 9 o'clock, you've finished the last little bit. And the others come into the room and you can read this to them.
It's like someone's walked over my grave. But this is what we were able to translate out. Reading the Whispering Fez gains the Fez controller powers as long as they succeed in an intelligence roll when they finish reading the book. Powers that require a Fez controller and another Fez wearer are marked with an asterisk. They must be within a half-mile radius of one another. Drain the Fez. The controller may attempt to drain other Fez wearers of magic points or POW. If the target is unwilling and an opposed POW roll is required, only 5 POW per day can be drained this way per Fez wearer. The POW is taken permanently from the victim and added to the controller. Or it can be used to spawn a new Fez. 1 magic point per hour can also be drained, but these come back to the wearer at the end of the day. Control the servant of the Blood Red Fez. This spell accelerates a Fez wearer to become a servant of the Blood Red Fez. See day 3 of the degeneration track. The servant does the bidding of the controller. By now, the person is strongly in the grip of the Fez and cannot resist. Spawn Fez. A new Fez can be grown from an existing Fez. This requires 24 hours, at the end of which it is slowly extruded with a hideous sucking noise. Favor to Yog-Sothoth. The spell acts very much like Call Yog-Sothoth, except that no stone tower is needed. Instead, a sacrifice is required, and both caster and sacrifice must be wearing a Blood Red Fez. On a successful roll by the caster, Yog-Sothoth is inclined to view its summoner favorably and grant spells and POW bonuses at the keeper's discretion. If another person wearing a Fez contests the primacy, then the spell will be aborted on an opposed POW roll. On a fumble roll, Yog-Sothoth appears anyway and is not inclined to view anyone favorably. It's not good. Control the Fez. Any Fez wearer can test against another by making an opposed POW roll. The winner is now considered the controller. The loser can resist control once per 24 hours. Allies can voluntarily give up control. Lots of spells in the book here, gentlemen.
There's one more spell that makes Demir shudder. And he says to you, here, this one is the answer. But it's terrible. I would do it myself, except that you have a family.
Yeah.
The one who can control the Fez, who takes it over, who masters it, and who can subdue all of the other people who are challenging him, can make the hat destroy itself. He can make them all destroy themselves. But the risk to one's mind is incredible. There's a chance you could remove it before it is destroyed, but if you don't, it's going to destroy the person wearing it. But that's the way to destroy the Blood Red Fez once and for good. It will destroy all of the Fezes everywhere that exist.
It must be done.
It's a pity that it's not merely a suicide mission, but in addition, a sort of voluntary trip to hell. Those of you who haven't touched one of the things. I don't think there would be any sweet release of death, but absorption into this landscape that is unthinkably wrong. However, Demir, you have already risked madness yourself, translating this book under this strain with your wound and in fear of your son's life. There's no other way.
I don't know what to do. I feel like I can't ask you. But what choice do we have?
Yeah, if this is left unchecked, the chaos that would ensue and spread. This has to stop at some point.
They're all connected. You've seen it. They're all connected in this entity called Yog-Sothoth.
Whatever.
But we don't think she has many, if any.
We don't
because
know.
when we've seen the vision, there have only been 4 tendrils reaching down.
But the text says you have to be within a half a mile. So maybe you can't.
It was
See
just
the
too
ones that are
vast
too
to see
far
the
away.
others. The hundreds she has on the island, perhaps, for all we know.
Well,
She may
Your
not
man
have
said-
spells for creating extras. Maybe why she wants book to gain access to these spells. She may only have whatever duplicate hats were on hand for her at that time and has not been able to create more.
Wow.
That's why she wants our hat.
I think it's safe to assume that if they have more than one of them, she sent Louty to find the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Certainly, Louty went to capture the book to increase their information.
And
Louty
Louty
wasn't-
himself made at least 2 more.
Despite claiming not to be able to speak Persian, he translated it well enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if this is the way, we're Englishmen, we must act like Englishmen and stop it.
Which means not only do we arm ourselves as well as we can physically, but that we agree to put these things on our heads.
I was going to say earlier, too, that what's his name said they only have about 20 followers.
Yeah.
That's what he thought. We don't know.
Right.
But,
And so-
how among us, yes.
I was thinking I might need to start studying that spell because someone's got to learn it.
And so, with those horrifying revelations hanging over your head, and with tomorrow or tonight, if you're going to assault the island, we will leave it there as your characters are continuing to read this journal in the 1920s. And we'll pick it up next week, which will probably be the last of the Blood Red Fez party. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, David Gasaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, Josh Harwood, and John Hook, with yours truly as the Keeper of the Secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.